Okay, hello again, everyone. Lar from Complete Test Success here. I have a little warning that my internet isn't great, so I'm not sure if you can hear me or see me clearly at the moment. Hopefully it's not an issue. So today we are doing a live Q&A, which is live question and answers. So it's pretty straightforward. You just let me know whatever questions you have, or you might want to let me know whatever problems you're having in relation to the IELTS test, and then I'll be able to provide you with whatever support you need. If you want to contact me, this is my email address. So besides what we're looking at here, you can also email me if you need my support with anything. So just while we wait for the questions to start rolling in. Oh, I got a thumbs up. Thank you. I know that at least you can hear and see me now. So while we're waiting for the questions to roll in, I just want to share a link with you. So I have my feedback lessons on Zoom. Those are my free group classes. And if you haven't already signed up for those, you can with the link here. So obviously I'm supporting you on YouTube and Facebook and, doing these live lessons, but I also have lessons on Zoom. So, we work through, writing task 1 for general training and academic, task 2, which is the same for both reading, listening, speaking, and then we have another Q&A similar to this, but obviously it's on Zoom, so it's more face-to-face. Sharafat, hello to you. Good to see you back here again. So Sharafat, any questions today? Anything you'd like to ask, or are you experiencing any problems since we last spoke? Ramandeep, hello to you. Welcome. Okay, so as well as the free lessons that I already shared with you guys here and here, I also have practice IELTS speaking tests, essay corrections. I have writing courses, speaking courses. So if you're looking for more one-on-one support, and that is also available. And let me just get that link there and I'll share that with you. So this link I'll just call one-on-one IELTS support. So the first link I shared with you is the free group support. And this link, one-on-one IELTS support, those are my paid services. So obviously, the one-on-one extra hands-on support and guidance has got a fee. Sharafat, sir, I just want speaking feedback from you, but don't get a chance. So speaking feedback, so like I said, there are various ways to get my support. In fact, this Thursday, so the same start time on Thursday, I have a live stream for speaking. So in that, it'll be here, but I'll share a link with you. You'll come on and I can give you some feedback here in the live stream. I also have speaking lessons in my free group lessons on Zoom. So again, click there and sign up. So you can get it either on my live stream, the free Zoom lessons, or like I said, I have one-on-one practice IELTS speaking tests that you can purchase. I have a speaking course, which is obviously, a lot more extensive and a lot more hands-on, where with the one-on-one speaking tests, we have one speaking test. I tell you your scores, I explain your scores, and I explain how to improve. But with the course, it's much more guided, where I'll take you by the hand and just guide you through the whole process until you get the required scores. So, of course, practice speaking tests would be a part of that, but it includes lessons on fluency, vocab, grammar, pronunciation, lessons on how to approach the test, what to expect in the test, how to answer the various question types and all strategies, as well as one-on-one workshops to guide you through whatever you're struggling with. So there are various different ways of getting feedback and support. So just get involved there, Sharafat, in any of those. Li Huang. Some people spend most of their lives living close to where they were born. What might be the reasons for this? What are the advantages and disadvantages? IELTS 16 training to Cambridge. So the Cambridge IELTS 16, and you're saying it's a general training Cambridge IELTS 16. Okay, so the book, general training Cambridge IELTS 16. And it's saying you need 2 reasons, 2 advantages, and 2 disadvantages. So let's have a look at that question there. Some people spend most of their lives living close to where they were born. What might be the reasons for this? What are the advantages and disadvantages? Yep. So, I mean, that's a very unusual question. I've never seen that before, where they would require more than 4 ideas. But I mean, it's not a situation where you have to panic. You're still following the same strategy. So and obviously, Li Huang, you do understand, what's required from you, in that you've just said you need to give 2 reasons, 2 advantages, and 2 disadvantages. So I wouldn't panic. If you get something like this in the test, you'll just adapt. You'll just adapt to it. So what I would recommend for this is say that you will discuss the reasons, advantages, and disadvantages in the introduction. You could just give an example of one of each. So you'll have to generate 6 ideas, but rather than putting all 6 ideas in the introduction, that would be a bit much. So I'd recommend just giving an example of one. So there are some reasons, such as financial constraints, and potential advantages include one of those, and there are also disadvantages and you'll include one of those. Then 1 paragraph for the reasons, 1 for the advantages, 1 for the disadvantages, 1 body paragraph for each of those. But you will not be able to develop those. You will not be able to develop those much at all. So just a short, say what the idea is, and a very short sentence about each one. So normally when you're writing about, do you agree or disagree, you will have 2 ideas and your body paragraphs will be about this length. Well, consider now your body paragraphs are going to be about this length. It's just going to be idea, smallest bit of development, like a small short explanation or short example. So where you might feel like, well, it is a lot more idea generation. But I think if you get an unusual question like that in your IELTS test, it's not something to panic about. Just follow what you know is the best practice, and it won't be an issue. So that question is from IELTS 16 general training. Do I need to write 2 reasons, 2 advantages, and 2 disadvantages? That's really a lot to write. It is a lot of ideas to generate, but you would still aim to write an essay of about 280 words. Around 280, you might end up writing 300, but you don't want to aim for a longer answer because you have more ideas because you have more main ideas. You want to aim for shorter amount, like less development of each idea. So your essay should still be more or less the same length as if you had 2 ideas, if you had 3 ideas, if you had 4 ideas. So you're not writing a longer answer, you're just generating more ideas. And again, it shouldn't take you longer, because normally you have to generate more development. The problem I see, the main issue I see, is for a lot of students, they find it difficult to generate ideas that are relevant and specific. So for students who are in that situation, for students who find it difficult to generate ideas, that could potentially be, a question that would cause more issues for them. But in relation to writing a lot, as in what you physically write on the page, it should not be any different from any of the other questions, any of the other typical question types. Ramandeep, I am not able to concentrate in reading. You have any idea how to improve my reading? So why are you not able to concentrate? And what I found, like a lot of students who I've helped, they'll begin by saying this: it's too boring. So they'll normally look for an excuse like, it's too boring. I'm just not interested. That's typical. That's a typical response, and it's kind of like it's something. It's avoiding the truth. It's avoiding the truth of the situation, because it's all boring. Listening, writing, speaking, everything about the IELTS test is boring. So we can't use that as an excuse. But generally, my experience has been, when I dig a bit deeper into why is it boring, or why they can't concentrate, it's one of two things. It's either your vocab isn't at a high enough standard, that there are too many confusing things going on at the same time. So you're looking at the question, you don't understand that. You're trying to look at the text to find the answer, you can't find that, and you're kind of going back and forth between the two of them. Nothing is really making that much sense, and it's just difficult to stay focused. The other thing then is that, the other scenario is where students very, very rarely read in English. And the idea where you're sitting down for 1 hour and reading in English is something that you've never done before. So not specifically you, Ramandeep, but just a lot of students have that experience. So they never read in English. They never have any extended reading in English. They don't read every day in English. They've never read a full book in English. Normally they study English as a subject, but they never actually interact with the language. So they would never sit down and spend an hour reading a newspaper, or sit down and spend a day reading a book. So if that's your situation, where you never ever read in English, and now suddenly you have to read for 1 hour, you just get exhausted. You get really, really tired, because your brain is doing something that it never ever does, and it just cannot stay focused on something that is so new and for that reason difficult. So it could be that, in that you never read in English, you've never spent an hour reading in English besides doing the IELTS test, and therefore your brain is just not, has never done that activity, and therefore it's hard to concentrate. So it could be that. I would wager it's one of those two issues for you, Ramandeep, because I've seen those a lot. I've seen those two issues a lot with students. So can you let me know, am I right with either one of those? Could it be the vocab, so it's too confusing and then you can't stay focused? Or is it because you never read in English, and then, that full 1 hour of reading is just too much for you? Do you think either of those explain your situation? Hey Vishal, can we use this statement in task 2? This essay discusses both the perspective and why I believe that. I would say, you could say this essay discusses both something and something, but it just depends on the question type. And to discuss the perspective is too vague. Like, what is the question about? What perspective? Because not every question will have a perspective. And then I prefer for your coherence and cohesion score to say, so like if you're talking about, a view, there's a view in the question, there's an opinion in the question, and you have to discuss that. But not just that don't just say that you'll discuss the view, say like what reason you will be using in relation to it. So I know I'm not giving you a direct answer because I can't without knowing what question type you're trying to answer. So if you want to send me another message, write another comment with the question type that you would use this with. I see several problems with this, but I can give you more appropriate and more accurate advice if I know what question type you're referring to, because of course we have to adapt. We have to adapt based on the question type. Hi Lorraine, hello to you and welcome. Romana, please suggest me for reading because I cannot complete the test in 1 hour. So when you're starting first, don't worry about how long it takes. If it takes you 2 hours to do a reading test, your first reading test, that's fine. I wouldn't worry about that. And then when you're finished the reading test, you could spend another two hours analyzing your test. So what answers did you get wrong? I mean, that's easy. You get the answer key and you just tick yes, 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 no, no, yes, no, no. But the analysis is for all those ones that were wrong, all the ones that you got incorrect. You need to go back and analyze, why did you get those wrong? Look at what the correct answer was. Look at the answer you chose. Figure out what mistake you made to arrive at the wrong answer. And based on that, you'll have the information you need to improve your scores. So it's all about the analysis. So like I said, if you spend 2 hours on your test and then you analyze it for 2 hours and then you get that information, like, okay, I have a problem with vocabulary. I made some spelling mistakes. True, false, not given questions are giving me problems, but why exactly do I have problems with those question types? So analyze your test and just work on improving your scores first. Don't worry about how fast you're doing the test. And then let's say you need a band 8 in reading. So just continue on that path. And a lot of it, like where a lot of students go wrong, is they'll just do reading test after reading test after reading test after reading test. But if you figured out that your problem is your vocab and your spelling, then you need to stop doing reading tests, go and work on your vocab and spelling, and then come back when you've made some progress and try another reading test. So that's what you're doing. Figure out what mistakes you're making, learn from your mistakes, get a little bit better, improve until you can get the score you need. So I said, imagine you need an 8, continue with that process until you can get a band 8. After that point, that is when you're ready to start working on how much time it takes. So don't worry about time until you can get your score. After that, time is something you need to worry about. And then when you get to that stage, of course, it's, well, why? Where are you losing time? So it might be one question type that you're spending too much time on, like matching heading, where, very often students can't distinguish between two headings and they spend a long time trying to figure it out. Whereas really, if you don't know, you should just guess and move on. True, false, not given, or yes, no, not given, where again, students, they're hesitant to choose not given. They think it might be false. So a lot of time can be wasted there as well. So it's all really about that. Just really analyzing, where are you losing time? What are you doing wrong? And just pushing forward, edging forward slowly but surely until you get to where you need to be. But yeah, those would be the main things. Again, if I haven't addressed your issue, let me know. Give me more details, and I will have more advice for you. Hello, Haiwa. Welcome to the lesson. And Ahad Khan, hello to you, sir. Okay, so a few of you have just joined in the last few minutes. So let me just explain again what we're doing here is any questions you have related to the IELTS test, you ask and I'll answer, or alternatively, any issues you're having with the IELTS test, you tell me what they are and I will explain how to overcome those issues. So pretty straightforward. Tell me whatever it is you need help with and I will provide that help. Just while I'm waiting for the next question, just let me explain my situation at the moment. I've been in Vietnam for the last 14 years, and my family and I are moving back to Ireland in a few weeks. So what I was thinking of doing was, so I have these live lessons every week where I help you guys, but they're just one off. So like today, Q&A, Thursday, there's one on speaking. Next week, do another Q&A and maybe do one on listening or reading. I have a schedule, but I don't remember what's coming up next. Obviously, when I'm moving back to Ireland, I'll have about a 2-week period where, I'll have no live streams. I'll be, working on settling in. A lot of things to sort out. To be honest, a lot of things to do. So I'll be taking a break for about 2 weeks. But what I was thinking about was when I come back, instead of having just like individual, like single independent lessons, like one on Tuesday, one on Thursday, one on Tuesday, one on Thursday, what I was thinking is have like a series of lessons where we would work through some part of the IELTS test. So have like 2 or 3 lessons connected where, we'd start with, whatever part of the test, move through it and continue the lesson. So like rather than having one-off independent lessons, we'd have, 2, 3, 4 lessons where we would work through something in more detail. But I don't know if that is something that, you guys would be interested in. If I do that, would it be difficult for you to attend more than one lesson? Would you just not be interested in having that much detail? Would that seem like too much for you to do? What do you think? Would you participate? Those are just my thoughts, and we don't have to do it if nobody wants it. It's a lot easier not to do it. If we're not doing it, then I'm already finished. But I thought it would be nice to work through something in a bit more detail. So let me know your thoughts. What do you think? Li Huang, arbitrary ranges. Is it true that we shouldn't say, for example, people who earned between $2,000 and $3,000 represent the biggest segment because the salary range is an arbitrary range? So are you asking about making up making up survey results? Is that the question? So just to explain to everyone else, I think what this question is about is when you are adding an example to an IELTS writing task 2 body paragraph. Is it okay to invent surveys? I'm pretty sure that's what we're asking about. So, surveys are okay. They're not the best option. In general, a lot of students just do a bad job of inventing these kind of fake survey results where they basically just take the explanation and repeat it, but add a figure. Or they'll go overboard and they'll say something like, 99% of people do the thing that I just talked about. And there's no way, like, there's no way 99% of people do whatever, like so they just sound unrealistic. They don't sound right. They kind of weaken the argument. So you don't really need to get that specific in your example. So I would say in general, avoid those types of, like, inventing surveys. Avoid that stuff. What I would go for instead is just give an example about what's happening in your experience, the people around you, what's happening, what are you aware of happening in the world. And it doesn't have to be like representative of everybody in your country, because we don't know everybody in our country, but amongst the people, what's the general situation. So I mean, you could just say like, like, in my country, most people earn roughly €4,000 a month. Like, could you just say that? And you don't have to be 100% accurate. You say like, most people earn about that much money. So with that, it's just based on your experience. It doesn't have to be correct. And I'm not sure what point you're trying to make here, but I'm pretty sure you're just asking, is it okay to invent surveys, create data, pull data out of your head? But it's generally not necessary. And you could just say a lot of people, instead of saying 40% of people. There's nothing wrong with that. Just make it sound like it's based in the real world. That's generally a good rule of thumb with examples. Mohammed, very good. Thank you. Thanks for asking. Aldo from Peru. Hey, Aldo. It must be pretty late for you there. Pretty late or pretty early. Depends if you've been to bed yet. Maritz. Hello, sir. I'm new here in your class. How to start speaking part 2. I would just jump straight into the answer. There's no special phrase that you have to use. But just set the context. So like, if you're asked to talk about, your favorite childhood memory, just say, my favorite childhood memory was, and you say what it was. Like, a lot of candidates, they like to have this formulaic, okay, now I'm going to tell you about the like they have kind of like an introduction that they've learned. I mean, it's not a big problem if you do that, but it's not necessary. I would just say start it in an informal, like, normal way you would say something. Like, if your friend asked you what's your favorite childhood memory, you go, okay, my favorite childhood memory is, and you'd say what it is. So I wouldn't worry about learning something in advance like that. Okay. Hey, Sonny. Hello to you. So I have another 30 minutes set aside for this, and I'm more than happy to give you whatever answers you have, or answer whatever questions you have, or give you whatever advice that you need. But of course, if you guys are okay, if you don't have questions, if you're not experiencing any problems, that is no problem either. But do let me know, and we can dig into it here. Jaspreet. Hello, sir. I find reading challenging. Can you help me, please? So again, with that, Jaspreet, we were discussing reading a few moments ago. It's all about figuring out, why is it challenging for you? So, it will be challenging for different people for different reasons. So is it your vocab? If you don't have the vocab, it would be challenging. Is it your grammar? If you don't have the grammar ability, it will be challenging. Is it because you never read in English? Well, if you can't read in English, it'll be challenging. So it's like, for what reason is it challenging for you? Are you following an IELTS reading strategy that's very complicated? And there are some very complicated IELTS reading strategies out there. If it's a complicated strategy, again, it's going to be challenging. So what is it? What is it that you're doing, or what weakness do you have that's making it challenging for you? That's what I would say. And if you don't know, you need to think about it. Like, do a practice reading test and try and analyze, like, why is this? What's the problem here? Why am I struggling? Li Huang, sir, I'm asking task 1. In task, some ranges are arbitrary ranges. In this case, it makes no sense to say which group is the biggest. Liu Hang, I'm not following your question. I'm more than happy to help you, but I'm just not following what you're trying to say. Like, what makes the data arbitrary in task 1? So we're talking about task 1 academic, where you get a line graph and you have to report what the data is. So how can it be arbitrary if it's showing you what the data is? I'm lost. I'm very honestly, I'm lost. I don't understand why ranges would be arbitrary. There shouldn't be anything arbitrary. If you're choosing random numbers to put into your task 1 answer, you're getting a low score for sure. So what is making those ranges arbitrary? Like, what? I don't understand why or how it could be arbitrary. It shouldn't be. So let me know. Give me more information there. Hey, James. Hello, sir. I'm a new student here. Good. Welcome. Have a problem with reading, particularly matching headings. Okay. So again, just talking, I just mentioned there are some very complicated IELTS reading strategies. Let me share mine with you. Let me just pull it up, and I'll send a link. I'll share a link in the comments. Okay, so James, if you just look a little bit lower in the comments, you'll see this IELTS reading strategy. So most strategies, they have like very specific steps that you need to follow, like maybe about 5, 6, 7 steps for each question. They're difficult. They're difficult to follow. They're difficult to remember, and they're not all that useful in my experience. So the strategy that I just shared with you here is quite different. And the strategy is basically this. You read the first paragraph of the text before you look at the questions. Read the first paragraph in full from start to finish. No skimming, no scanning, none of that, those like more complicated ways of reading. You just read it as you would read, any text. You start at the start and you continue until you're finished. Read the first paragraph. Don't look at the questions yet. Read the first paragraph. Then you look at the questions. Look at all 13 questions for the passage. Answer as many as you can. Come back. Read the second paragraph and continue continue in that way. So first paragraph, look at the questions. Second paragraph, look at the questions. Third paragraph, look at the questions. So instead of trying to make your way through the questions, you're making your way through the text. So, there's no need to look for keywords or identify keywords, thinking of synonyms, trying to, predict the answers, trying to do like skimming and scanning and finding the answers without looking at the text, without reading the text. It's much more straightforward. So generally, what I've seen, the issues that students have with matching headings is that they don't read the paragraph, so they don't know what it's about. Or they try to skim the paragraph, so they don't know what it's about. Or they try to read the paragraph so quickly that they didn't really process the information. So of course you read as quickly as you can, but some people just force themselves, like go, 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 get to the end of the paragraph. It's like, what was the paragraph about? I have no idea. Nothing went in. So like they read each word, but none of the information went in. So you don't want to read too fast either. So those are the initial issues of figuring out what the paragraph is actually about. The next issue then is when you're matching the paragraphs with the headings, some of the headings seem very similar. So you might not be sure, it might be number 1 or number 4, but you're not sure is it number 1 or number 4 because they seem to have the same meaning. When you look at them, you can't see how they're different. They seem to be the same. And that's essentially an issue with vocab. And IELTS is doing that on purpose. They're making the headings similar so that, only somebody with a band 9 ability would be able to find the difference, or only someone with a band 8 ability would be able to find the difference. So that's basically what's happening there. And if you're at the point where your issue is the headings, that you can't distinguish between the headings, like short term, guess, make the best guess you can. Long term, improve your vocab. If you can get away with a guess, if you can get the score you need with, a guess every now and again, that's fine. But if you're way below the score you need, then, it has to be facing the problem head on and, actually improving your vocab. Jaspreet, I always end up with band 5. So we're talking about reading. Just looking at your vocab and your grammar level, you should be getting a higher score than band 5. It's not your grammar and your vocab that's holding you back. So it might be like, take a look at that strategy that I just shared with James. You can just click on the link here. That will help you to a certain degree. And it depends what score you actually need. You might need to do quite a lot of work to get your score up if you need a high score. But if you need like a 6, you might be able to improve that quite quickly. Hey, Mizan. Hello, sir. What does it mean by balanced paragraphs in writing task 1? Okay, it depends who said it. If I said it, it means make your paragraphs about the same length. So like, let's say you have 2 body paragraphs. You don't want one to be about 8 lines and one to be about 3 lines, right? You don't want one very long and one very short. You want them to be, roughly the same length. Like, if one is 4 and the other is 5, or even if one is 4 and the other is 6, that's, it's not a big deal. But aim for about the same length, because you need to develop each idea. So if you've one idea very well developed and the other idea just slightly developed, that's what your score is going to be. It's going to be based on whichever one had less development. So that's why balance it, because you want to develop your ideas roughly the same amount, because that's what will get you the highest score possible. Overdeveloping one will not help you. Developing both of them equally is, the best approach. So if I am the person who said write balanced paragraphs, that's what it means. If another teacher said that to you, if you heard another teacher saying that, I can't confidently say I know what that means. But yeah, if it's my advice, it's just roughly have the same length paragraphs so that you have roughly the same amount of development. Leoing, those ranges are arbitrary ranges. Does it make sense to say those who earned X to Y dollars were the biggest group? Do you want to send me the question? If you want to send me the question, we can have a look at it right now. You can email me here, Lar, complete test success. I'll open it up, I'll put it on screen. I might be able to understand what you're referring to. Without seeing the question, it's very difficult. Very difficult for me to understand. You know, I'm trying to imagine a graph, and like, the graph I'm imagining doesn't really, I can't really apply this. But why would you not have the name of the biggest group? Why, like, is it a graph with various salary ranges, and you want to say which salary range has the most people earning that range? I have to see the question. Just checking on the quality. That my internet connection is really bad today. Sorry for the poor quality, but hopefully my voice is clear enough anyway. You don't need to see me all that clearly for the advice to be relevant. Yeah, I'm just on the other platforms here looking at it. Yeah, the quality is very bad. Unfortunately. But either way, like I said, the advice is still as relevant either way. Thank you, MH Ahmed. Good. Thank you very much. Okay, so it seems like I've answered everyone's questions. Let me just share that link for the free live feedback lessons again. So I shared at the start of the lesson, these are my free live feedback lessons on Zoom. So those are my free group classes, and those are every week. So if you haven't already signed up, go ahead and sign up now. And I have one tomorrow, so see you there. If not, I'll be back here on Thursday with another live stream, and we'll be looking at IELTS speaking. So I'll get some people to come in and join me. I'll ask them some questions, give them some feedback on their answers, and give you all a better idea of what the examiner is looking for, what type of mistakes you need to avoid. Okay, so let's leave it at that for today. Take care of yourselves until next time. See you tomorrow in the live feedback lessons or on Thursday in the live stream. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye, everybody.